Mic's up. Camera's up.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association from the 6 Hour Studios on the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense begins right now. How the heck are you? 6 Hour Studios fired up for you. Mark Walters in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphone. It's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. For the next 2 segments, I'm going to leave this link up for you. If you are watching, Greg will tell you how to do that, where to do that in just a second. But I'll tell you, Facebook, you can watch us, facebook.com/Armed American Radio. And you can click that live link if you're watching us and join the National Rifle Association. And join us, please. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, brother?
Not too bad.
So where are we live today? We're everywhere.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead. I'll let you.
Oh, all right. Other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. To search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters over there. At X, it's at AAR Mark. To join our live chat, download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Hey, Greg, how you doing today? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. You know, a little dreary over here in Texas, but it is what it is. You
sending
can
us
smell
storms?
the weekends. Yeah, I'm over it. It's been raining a lot lately for us here, and I'm tired of the mud.
San Antonio had some flash flood deaths yesterday. Crazy.
Oh, is that from liberal tears after Abbott deployed the National Guard out there?
It could very well be. That could be. That could cause flash flooding. Liberal tears.
Yeah,
could be,
absolutely.
you know.
Looks like it is in Los Angeles.
Heavens. Yeah, I tell you, man, I hate when this camera. It's a radio show, but I hate when that camera does what it does.
Just throw it across the room.
Yeah, I should do that, but I don't. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll just hope it stays in its place. How about that? And you got some Corvette hair today going on. So, Greg, we have some interesting stuff happening today. There's been a couple self-defense stories in and around my neck of the woods.
All right.
Lately, and I want to talk about 2 of those. And then constitutional carry passed in North Carolina, but okay, we're going to go there too.
Partially passed.
No, it's passed.
It's through the House, right? It's not through the Senate. It hasn't been signed as full-fledged legislation.
It hasn't been signed yet, but it goes to the governor's desk. That's what we're going to talk about. So it's passed out of both houses. So we'll talk about a little bit of nuance there in North Carolina because y'all up against a Democrat governor. We're going to see what happens. We'll give you a breakdown of what we think is going to go on there. Although, you know, you just never know. You can never tell. So I don't know what kind of pressure there is, but we'll find out. We'll talk about it. Scott Coburn, Chief Marketing Officer for Patriot Mobile, will be here at the bottom half of the hour for the last 2 segments of the show. We'll talk about California and all kinds of fun stuff with Scott. Those are great people over there, ladies and gentlemen, and they are fighting on behalf of your Second Amendment rights. Unlike any company or anybody I've ever met in a company, they have it going on. They really, truly do. So let's start with a couple of these self-defense stories out of Georgia. And this one broke, and I live here. I'm about 45 miles out of the ATL, they call it, right?
All right.
And so I see this stuff, but I tend to look at all news reports kind of blanket across the board. I've got alerts from everything. I don't really focus on Atlanta because I don't really go to Atlanta. You know what I mean? I drive through it to fly out of it, but it hits home, so I get a lot of that news. So there was a bizarre story unfolding in Buckhead. Now, if you know anything about the Atlanta area, and a lot of people do, Buckhead is the very wealthy, old money, and I do mean old money, 35. It's the 35,000 square foot mansion, old Southern money. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
That's Buckhead money, and there's a bunch of it. There's a lot of new money there too. A lot of athletes, a lot of actors, a lot of actresses, and all that kind of stuff. Tyler Perry, I think they sold his house for I don't know what it was, but a bunch. But he bought movie studios and everything. Buckhead's a very expensive, very well-to-do area, and it has been trying to divorce itself from the city of Atlanta for years. And
all right.
You recall that. I think we've talked about it before. They want their own police force. They want Atlanta's mitts off their money. They're sick and tired of Fulton County corruption.
Yep.
And they've just had it. And they want out. And they should, but they can't. And they haven't gotten the support that they needed. The the movement is ongoing, but I would love to see that area taken out. Now, the studios, Salem Radio Studios, I used to broadcast a show from Buckhead every week.
All right.
And, it's got a lot going for it, but it's just got that whole Atlanta thing going on and the crime, and crime has exploded post-COVID. But last night, a bizarre, because the cops weren't saying much, but there was an apartment complex, Peachtree Battle Apartments. And there was a domestic dispute, right?
Uh-huh.
Always a dangerous situation. Late Wednesday night into Thursday today, early this morning, in that Buckhead apartment building. And all the news reported was there was a man in his 30s, mid-30s, that was left dead. They weren't saying a whole lot. And I thought, okay, domestic dispute, I'm going to bet you this is going to be a self-defense case. And not a lot came out about it. Started looking at it again early this morning, and lo and behold, flipped on the old local Fox 5 this morning, and the cops are now talking about it. So what you have is a guy was an estranged husband of a woman living at the Cortland Peachtree Battle Apartments. So when you hear that, what does that tell you? Guy goes down there all angry. They're in the midst of a divorce. This guy shows up angry. That's aggression. He's the aggressor. And that is, in fact, the way it played out. But all we knew last night and into early this morning, wee hours of the morning, was there was a pickup truck left, and this guy was in his 30s. So what happened? Well, typical domestic dispute. Guy's getting divorced. Guess he don't like what's going on. He shows up. She has two relatives there. Now, I don't know who they were, but I believe they were men. I don't know what relation. Brothers, maybe? That's not a good situation, is it?
Could be a father and a brother.
Could be a father and a brother.
It
really doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
When the divorced husband or divorcing husband shows up and there's family there, that's not going to turn out well, is it?
Typically not.
Well, it does turn out well. It just doesn't turn out well for the bad guy. And the bad guy in this case is the estranged husband. So he shows up, he's armed. He gets into an argument, creates an argument. And what does he do? He shows up with a gun, pissed off. It's not a good combination. It's not going to turn out well. So this guy has likely made a decision in his own head.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. Exactly. And what does that mean to you? Tell us, because I know where you're going.
Today's the day I go down there and solve this problem of mine that is constantly doing who knows what through the court system, and it's going to be showdown in the OK Corral.
And I'm going to off myself in the process.
One way or another, somebody is going to end up room temp.
One way or another, today's the day.
Yep.
Well, today was the day, and it didn't turn out well for him. So during the incident, we'll call it, he fires off a couple rounds inside the building, the apartment building. And no one was hit by the gunfire.
Those poor neighbors.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, I know where this is, okay? This is a really, really nice area. It's not an area that, but again, this goes back to that whole, it doesn't matter where you live, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't matter what side of the tracks you're on, doesn't matter how fat your wallet is, okay? It doesn't matter that your building has security. This guy got through the security. He did it. It's possible. It happens. It happens where you live, okay? And you might not know what's going on with your neighbor. You might know that Clarice over there is getting a divorce, but you might not know her. You just maybe see her walking her dog and she's told you a little bit about her stuff. You have no idea how bad it is. Find yourself in the wrong place at the right time with the old estranged husband coming in. You too can find yourself a victim, right? Happens all the time. So again, it's just a situational awareness type thing. But when people live in these guarded, gated places, they tend to let their guard down. Forget all that. He fired off a couple rounds. Nobody apparently was hit by the gunfire. And when the cops got there, they found him dead in the hallway about 11:30 p.m. last night. Of course, there's a homicide detectives are there. There's an investigation. And they did not allude to any self-defense, but I had a gut feeling last night that this was going to be a self-defense case. Just because they said that she had people there. I thought, okay, this guy shows up with a gun. How could this not be a self-defense case? Guy comes in angry with a gun. He's clearly going to wind up the aggressor, likely in this situation. Now, they didn't reveal the exact cause of death at the time, but what we find out, and I guess we'll take this to the break and move to another story coming up. Also, right down the road in Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, yesterday as well. Happened, just yesterday. But apparently the two guys were able to get into it with the estranged husband, wrestle the gun away from him. They couldn't get the gun away. I don't think they weren't able to get it away from him entirely. So one of them whacked him over the head with a fire extinguisher. Lights out.
Ooh.
Not a gun. Lights out with a fire extinguisher. And he's dead, and it's self-defense. That's a happy ending story, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Not a happy ending story for the estranged husband, but a happy ending story for the woman and her relatives who defended her life because she survived the encounter. And I can promise you, had it not been for help and a fire extinguisher, she wouldn't have. We'll be right back. Greg was just asking during the break, ladies and gentlemen, about the family court system in Georgia when it comes to divorce. I don't know.
I know Texas's courts are corrupt.
Yeah, many of them are. Family courts are brutal, man. They really are. And there's always problems in family courts, particularly when there's kids involved. I don't know any other details here, so it's really not fair for me to comment on that. What I can tell you is that Georgia is not a simple divorce state like Florida is, for example. Florida's a 50-50 deal. You get divorced, you split your crap up and go on your own merry way. Not here. The court system makes you fight it out, okay? Adultery comes into play. Alimony is in play, all right?
Same here.
And when you get that, you got kids, the court system just makes it a mess. And guys snap. Women snap too. But I don't know the situation here. I can't comment on that because I don't know. I can only say that definitely happens. And it doesn't just happen in this state here. It happens in Texas and other states where the court system's just, whether it's right or wrong, you got a guy that's, he just feels railroaded. And, look, I'm of the personality where, get out. This ain't working. Let's just go. There's no judge got to tell me how much money I got to use to take care of my kids. They're my kids. I'm going to take care of my kids. I don't need a judge to tell me to do that, but not everybody thinks that way. And depending on somebody's certain particular financial situation, this could be absolutely devastating to their lives. You know what I mean? And who knows what she's been doing? And, was she cheating? Who knows? That's why these cases are so dangerous. That's why cops go on these cases are so dangerous, because they just don't know the backstory.
Between her lawyers and her and the courts, he could be absolutely being railroaded and just demolished. And having to pay for her attorney costs as well. And there could be so many unfair things happening that this guy was just pushed to the edge. He had enough.
True. Very true. It also could be the other way around. We don't know. He could just be a lunatic, and that's why she wants away from him.
That's very true, yep.
Okay, so we just don't know. But that does happen. It happens frequently, and it's a shame when it does, but it does happen. It does happen often. I've seen it with friends of mine in my own personal life that have gone through that.
See too many cases of it here in Texas.
People, and I've seen women get railroaded as well. So it works both ways. But anyway, I don't know the answer to that question. But instigator dead, fire extinguisher was the weapon, and they have announced today, and I'll mention that when we come back, there will be no charges. So then we're going to go to Marietta, Georgia, which is just a little bit northwest, just a tad bit northwest of Buckhead by about 4 or 5 miles.
So it's a neighboring city.
Yeah, Marietta is a neighboring city of Buckhead.
Yeah, so
if you know anything about Atlanta,
30.
As you're coming up 75, 575.
I've seen Marietta on the map.
Yeah. Marietta played a big role during the Civil War. Sherman burned it to the ground. Kennesaw Battlefield is just north of Marietta. Kennesaw Mountain. That whole area. And then you got Smyrna down there. Glock's down there by Smyrna, right? or I should say
Yep.
up there, depending on where I'm at.
Yeah.
Glock is over there in Smyrna, Georgia. That's where Julia Roberts is from. She went to high school in Smyrna, Georgia. Comes home all the time. Woo-hoo.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom on, I don't know, I've lost count how many stations. We just added another 4 or 5 more, Greg, to the Daily Show. I think I've got to cut some liners and get them to your guys over there at Salem here later today, in fact, and some Tennessee stations, I think, as well. So always great. If you're a new affiliate, welcome to the program. Love having you here. Thanks for taking the program. We love you guys. Mark Walters sitting in the 6 Hour Studios for you on Monday through Friday in front of this Patriot Mobile Command Center microphone, and it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. So I'm going to continue to leave that link up there. And if I get a chance today, if not today, maybe I will in the next segment, but I want to read a Facebook post from somebody who, had some problems with the NRA, and I want to address it. We have nothing to hide, and I want to read it to you. I spoke with the NRA because I've seen more than one, and the NRA is very well aware of this, and this is what we're trying to address. And I'll go there in a few minutes. I'll make time for that, Greg, in this segment. So just make sure to chop in my ear if we get about a minute out. Just yell in my ear, NRA, okay?
All right.
So I remember that time. Now, regarding this domestic dispute we were just talking about, if you were listening to us or watching us online, you had the feed. I don't know what the situation here is. Georgia's court system is designed really, when it comes to divorces, to really make people fight. It's not like Florida where it's a 50-50 deal. Go your own separate way. Okay, agree to it, get out, split everything up. It's not like that. You have to fight. There's alimony involved. There's all kinds of crap. The state makes you fight, and it's horrific because it results in a lot of this. But I don't know what happened here, so I got to be fair and say I just simply don't know. I don't know why he did what he did. He could just be a flat-out lunatic, and that's why she left him. That happens all the time, too. So, but fire extinguisher 1, perp 0. And it was a fire extinguisher. And I do want to point out that they have mentioned they have cleared the investigation. There will be no charges. So it was normally we'd say it was a good shoot. What do you say here? It was a good whack.
Sounds like self-defense. That's better. They put the fire out. Let's say that.
Break glass in case of emergency, right? Somebody broke glass in case of emergency, and, well, it turns out to be a good whack on the head. So there will be no charges. But that's a good opportunity to say, too, in a situation like that. Attorneys on retainer, right? That would have been the first call I made last night, Greg.
Sure.
Immediately.
Okay.
Because it's under investigation. They tell you. You don't say anything. Attorneysonretainer.us, folks. Attorneysonretainer.us. Have an attorney in your hip pocket now. There were no charges filed here. But, gosh, it could have gone any other way. So you make sure that you have some coverage there. All right, so then we're going to move over to Marietta, Georgia. Marietta is a town about just a tad bit northwest of Buckhead on the north side of Atlanta. And up there you're getting into the I-575 corridor, Marietta, Kennesaw.
It's a suburb of Atlanta, though.
Smyrna's down that way. Glock's down that way in the U.S. A pretty wild facility. I've been there before. So this was a violent attempted carjacking at a gas station in Marietta, not far from where I live. But it was stopped by I would say, and there's an interesting nuance here, but stopped by a fast-acting armed citizen. But he didn't start out armed, Greg. Keep that one in the back of your brain. How does that work? I'll tell you in a second. But because he acted quickly, and this was dangerous to do, I'm not in this situation. I think it was pretty obvious. But guys, think about this in your own mind. If you see something like this unfold, what would you do as we paint this picture for you? Because these are the stories right here that could wind up getting you in a lot of trouble if it's not 100,000% obvious as to what's going on. This situation apparently was. But boy, I'll tell you, a lot of them are not. But it was a fast-acting armed citizen who did not start out armed that prevented further harm and led to the suspect's arrest. And it started when a young woman by the name of Teresa Mayorkas was at a gas station in Marietta and was attacked by some scumbag who was apparently wielding a metal bed frame post.
All right.
Now, where do you get that? Do you cut your bed frame up? I think I'm going to use the bed frame to go out and rob somebody tonight.
Maybe there was one by the dumpster.
Find it in the dumpster. That's what I was just going to say. Usually find that in the dumpster. So does that mean that this was just an instantaneous deal, not real pre-planned? Hey, there's a bed frame post. There's a girl over there. I think I can use that. Who knows? Who knows how these criminals think? The assailant was a 32-year-old dirtbag by the name of Rico Riley. And Rico demanded her car at the gas station, and he whacked her with this bed frame pipe or a piece of frame, this metal frame. She started screaming, but there was no one in what would be considered, I guess, the immediate vicinity of the gas station who intervened. I don't know if that means there were people there. Maybe that means people just start pulling out their phones like a bunch of jerks that people are now, right?
Yeah.
Girls getting beaten with a metal bedpost, and there's people out there filming. I don't know that happened, but in today's day and age, it generally does. And I can tell you right now that somebody had a phone, because if you look at the piece, there is cell phone footage of it, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. It did happen. But this guy, Gary, and his wife, Anna Edwards, were across the street leaving a Cracker Barrel. I love me some Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, they got great breakfast.
They do have a great breakfast. What is it? Uncle Joe's, whatever, Grandpa's, whatever. I haven't been to a Cracker Barrel in a long time. A good breakfast. They were leaving when they heard this woman screaming. So this guy, Gary, sees the attacker on top of the woman, and he takes off, Greg, across the road to help.
All right.
So she's screaming. Somebody's on top of her. Clearly she's being attacked, okay? Again, I would normally say if you don't know what's going on, be a good witness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
In this case, he knew what was happening. He saw the guy on top of her. He ran across the road. He tackled the guy off of this young woman, Mayorkas, and the two struggled briefly on the ground. His intervention gave the woman the opportunity to hightail out of Dodge and get to safety, so she did. That's when the attacker, Rico Riley, fled toward a nearby intersection and attempted to carjack somebody else with a young couple in it and a child in a car seat.
A little over a minute.
This guy, Edwards, sees what's happening and turns around, and his wife hands him her gun that she's carrying concealed. He was unarmed. The wife was armed. So this is interesting. Not, honey, give me your gun. I got to go stop this. But I'm going to go stop this without a gun. And then she eventually gives him a gun. He holds the guy at gunpoint, prunes him out. Cops show up. He's now being praised by everybody involved, including the cops. Of course, no charges. So another good, happy ending story. I'm not going to get to the NRA deal. I'll do that when we come back from the break. It will only take a moment. We'll have Scott Coburn, the Chief Marketing Officer from Patriot Mobile, here, and I want to intro the next segment with that brief little story from Facebook where I got a comment from somebody talking about the National Rifle Association, and I had a little exchange, and I want to share it with you because some of you might be feeling the same way, and we have nothing to hide here. I want to bring it to your attention, make that post public. I won't shout the man's name out. It's not necessary. But he might be feeling a little bit like you. And if you do feel that way, I want to address that with you and help soften maybe your attitude a little bit, because we have to move forward, ladies and gentlemen. We have to move forward. And the NRA is in a great position to do it. Best position they've ever been in, ever before. When we come back from the break, I'll tell you about that real quick, and then we'll go to Scott Coburn, the Chief Marketing Officer from Patriot Mobile. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this. You are on the Armed American Radio Network. Mike's live. Camera's up.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show, guys. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, Monday through Friday, in the 6 Hour studios here on this Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Very powerful microphone. And you just heard the rejoin. It's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Before we go to our guest, Scott Coburn, let me say this. You can visit all of our partners, including Patriot Mobile, at armedamericanradio.com. And if you're watching on your devices, this is a Patriot Mobile phone that I'm holding up. It's activated. It's easy to do. We'll have Scott tell you how to do that in a few moments. We'll catch up with him. But I didn't get to it in the final segment before Scott got here. So let me just say this real quick. I had a Facebook comment referencing the NRA, and it's important that I bring this to your attention. A gentleman by the name of Tim says bluntly, F the NRA. They lost me and will never get me back. There are better gun rights groups out there to donate to. And I responded, and I made it very clear. I said, I completely understand your point of view. I'm going to read you my response verbatim. I completely understand your point of view. So do they. I'm asking you to take another look at the new management moving this organization in a new direction. Reformers are in control of the board. Wayne's BS and cronies are gone. They've re-engaged. It's how we fix the old problems by moving forward in a new direction. Give them a chance is all I'm asking you to do, and that's what I'm asking you to do. I completely understand, and so does the NRA. Believe me, we've had these conversations, multiple conversations. You might feel that way, and I don't blame you for feeling that way. They don't blame you for feeling that way. What they're doing is they're saying, look, give us an opportunity and rejoin the organization. It is not what it was, and it is not, ladies and gentlemen. It is an entirely new organization, and it needs our support. Regardless, even if you don't, it is still the 900-pound gorilla in the room. Close to 4 million members. We want to help get that back up to the 6 million plus that it was, that they lost because of bad management. And I was very vocal about that on this program for many years. I didn't hold back, but I continued to tell you that you still needed to be a member of the National Rifle Association, and you should. And I completely get where Tim is coming from. There are great gun rights groups out there. I'm a member of a handful of them myself. Second Amendment Foundation, Gun Owners of America, and states groups, AZCDL. I don't even live in Arizona. I'm a life member. VCDL, Florida Carry, life member. Georgia Carry, life member. Okay? But I'm also a member of the National Rifle Association. So I'm asking you to give them a new look. It is $35 with your discount when you use the AAR promo code. Join them. Support them. You don't have to donate any additional money. That covers you for the year. You can go 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. You can go life member. Give it a shot. Pun intended. But rejoin this organization and help us fight. Believe me, they're coming after our guns, and they're coming after our guns hardcore. So give them a look. NRA.org/AAR. Scott Coburn, Chief Marketing Officer, Patriot Mobile. How are you doing, my brother? It's great to have you here, Scott.
Mark, my man Mark, it's always good to talk to you. It's been a little while. Lots of good stuff going on, and it's just a blessing and an honor to be with you today.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. I know you're very, very busy, but good heavens, man. So tell me what Patriot Mobile's got going on. Every couple weeks we get an update from you guys, and every couple weeks you're somewhere different fighting for gun rights around the country. It is remarkable. I made the comment, Scott, at the opening of the broadcast, that I don't think I've dealt with a lot of companies over the years. I don't think I've ever met a company so engaged in supporting our Second Amendment rights as Patriot Mobile. I just have not. If there was one out there, I would have said so. You know, groups, of course, that's their sole focus, but you guys are super engaged in fighting for the right to bear arms. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mark. And you hit the nail on the head. You won't find a company like Patriot Mobile that does as much to defend our Second Amendment rights. There's just not one out there. It's in our DNA. It's what we believe in. It's why we're here. And we do that because we believe that's what we're called to do. You know, our constitutional rights and freedoms are there for a reason, and we're out there defending those every day of the week. And we're actually going to be, speaking of where we're going, next week we're actually going to be in D.C. The Second Amendment Institute has an annual 2A champion ceremony, and they are honoring Patriot Mobile and all of us and our customers for all that we're doing for the Second Amendment and fighting for Second Amendment rights. So it's an honor to receive that award. I'll be up there myself to get the award, and it's just going to be a good night.
So is it like a dinner function type thing? You're going to get up and give a speech? Because I would love to see that, at least get some audio from it. I'd love to run it.
Oh yeah. We'll get you some of that. I'll get with you offline and figure out how to get that to you. But that's a big thing for us, and you guys have done a great job promoting Patriot Mobile, and to be honest with you, that's what we're doing. We've got to get more people engaged, and just speaking directly, to your audience out there, I know your audience, Mark, and they listen to you guys religiously because they believe in you, they believe in our Second Amendment rights, and they believe in fighting for them. So here's the question. If they're investing time and energy to listen to your program every day or every month, however often they listen, would they take another 20 or 30 minutes and do something so easy that wouldn't cost them anything, might even save them some money? Would they do something that would also go to help to defend our Second Amendment rights by switching to Patriot Mobile? That's all it takes.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, and I'm glad you brought that up because we have companies like all of the companies. I've been using this phrase over the last few days. They're no-brainers, folks. You're giving money to people who hate you. If you're not using Patriot Mobile, why not switch and have better service? And you guys donate to the very organizations that we're talking about. The last time I interviewed you guys live was on the floor of the National Rifle Association at your booth, for crying out loud, in Atlanta. And your booth was packed. It was packed. I heard about a lot of products there that I did not know that you guys had. I'm going to ask you to cover some of those in a few minutes because it's not just phones, ladies and gentlemen. It's internet and everything else. Patriot Mobile is doing everything they have to do. But if you can give your money to companies, we've got one organization out there, Defender Coffee. Did you know, Scott, you can drink a cup of coffee and support the Second Amendment simply by buying Defender Coffee? Yeah, why? Because they give a portion of it to the Second Amendment Foundation or any other organization you want. These are no-brainer things, ladies and gentlemen. Why this is so important, Scott, is because the other side is rolling in doughies, brother. They got Bloomberg wallet just filling their coffers. They never run out of money. We don't.
That's right.
We depend on people supporting Patriot Mobile who supports the organizations that we're talking about, NRA, SAF, GOA, and the rest. I know I'm going to be with you guys up in Knoxville in the very near future.
That's coming up quick.
That's coming up real fast. Time flies. You blink and it goes right by. But we'll be up there doing the same thing. Patriot Mobile will be there at the Gun Owners of America convention, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're going to be in Knoxville, by all means, stop by, shake our paws, and say hello. And it doesn't cost any money to support these organizations. If you're gonna pay money for a cell phone, which you're doing, why not pay money for a cell phone that's going to give some of that money and not charge you anymore and give it to the causes that you support? These are things in today's day and age when the other side is rolling in doughies that we just have to do, Scott. There's no other choice.
Absolutely. And here's the fact. I mean, it all matters, right? I mean, that's how we win. It all matters. It doesn't matter where you buy your coffee. Right? It does matter who you buy your coffee from, who you bank with, where you buy your groceries, and yes, even who you choose to be your cell phone service provider. It all matters. And we have to be aware of where we're spending our money. Every dollar is a vote, right? It's a second vote. We can vote at the ballot box, but we can vote with our dollars. And that's what we need to be doing. That's how we need to be thinking every time we spend money.
We start stripping people of their money, and they start paying really close attention, don't they? I go back to remember the old Dick's Sporting Goods, right? When they got themselves in hot water with the AR-15 deal, it cost them $250 million, like overnight. And their CEO stood by his decision because he kind of had to, but it cost him $225 million wiped out just like that.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's what it takes. You got to fight with your wallet. Scott, we're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about that and some other fun things, catch up with you guys with some of the other things that you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking with Scott Coburn. Scott is the Chief Marketing Officer at Patriot Mobile, and you can visit patriotmobile.com/AAR. That'll take you right to the page, and you'll see everything about it. We'll have Scott tell you some of the corporate details and some of their corporate mission and how this all ties together. It is so important and so vital that we support the businesses that support our right to bear arms, and Patriot Mobile does it unlike any company I have ever seen. I mean, they are on the front lines, vocally fighting every day. We'll be right back. You're on the Armed American Radio Network. The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by AttorneysOnRetainer.com. AttorneysOnRetainer.com. Visit them today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. Welcome back to the show indeed. Mark Walters in the 6 Hour Studios with you here in the Patriot Mobile microphone at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. It all fits together, doesn't it? And remember, it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. You just heard that rejoin, Attorneys on Retainer. It's attorneysonretainer.us or .com. Goes to the same place. We'll have new rejoin up here I've been saying that for a couple days. Hadn't yet gotten to it, but we'll get it up for you quickly. In the meantime, you can visit attorneysonretainer.us or .com. Take your pick. And for $35, and you get $50 off your sign-up fee, for $35 a month, you have an attorney on retainer. God forbid you need to use your firearm in the worst moment of your life. You have attorney-client privilege instantly. You do not, trust me with this one, you do not want to have to do this after the fact, because you can't. You're not going to pay $35 a month for an attorney. Trust me, an attorney has no problem putting a lien on your home and everything you own to defend you, and it will cost you well into six figures if you're lucky. Ladies and gentlemen, for $35 a month, if I were you, like me and my family, I'd be doing it. Let's go back to Scott Coburn, CMO, Patriot Mobile. Scott, welcome back, my brother.
Hey, Mark. Another great segment in the books. Let's get going on number 2, and I'd be happy to tell you guys about some cool new products we got.
Tell us about the cool new products. Because I'm always into cool new stuff.
Right.
As much as I hate tech, I have to admit that I'm into the stuff. I like it. What's new?
Well, we got some cool stuff. So we've got a line of products called Patriot Mobile Connect. So in addition to all the great cell phone service that we provide, we also provide our customers with connectivity solutions. So we've got some new products in our Patriot Mobile Connect line that allow you to stay connected while you're on the go. Think about like internet on the go. So you're going to run out to the deer lease, or you're going to go out to the range, or maybe you're just going to hit the RV and travel across the country. You know, you might have spotty cell phone coverage because you're just moving. Well, we've got a series of products that are carrier agnostic. Think about a little hockey puck, the Patriot puck. Throw it in your backpack, throw it in your car. As you travel across the country, it's constantly searching for the strongest cell signal. It doesn't matter what network it is. It works on all 3 of the main networks. So it's pulling in the strongest signal dynamically wherever you go. So you've got data wherever you are. So really, it's kind of a cool set of products we have there. Great for outdoorsmen, hunters, if you're fishing, or you're just jump in your RV and go. Good stuff.
I've seen mine go to, hop to Verizon, for example, when it was on another network. And I know when I was at the NRA convention talking with you guys, there's another product, and forgive me for not remembering what it is, but you can add another line through another network, so you always have connection. And I know it's great for kids, things of that nature. If you got somebody that's doing some traveling, there's always a cell phone service, but you can connect more than one line, right?
Yeah, that's our Patriot Mobile One product, Mark, and it's a game changer. Really, it provides, we are able to offer something that you can't get with a single network carrier. So essentially what it allows you to do is have more than one active number on 2 separate networks. So right now, I've got one active line on one network and another active line on another network. And as I move around, I'm never at a loss of signal, because if I get into an area where it's weak signal on one network, it'll automatically switch over to the other. And that's a game changer when you're talking about peace of mind. You mentioned kids. Well, what about your wife and your kids? I don't want my wife or my kids out driving around potentially losing the use of their cell phone or their navigation on their device. With Patriot Mobile One, I don't have to worry about that. And backup lines start at only $15 a month. Wow. Man, that's a small price to pay for peace of mind, right, brother?
Yeah, it is. And what comes to mind is I used to be in the trucking business. I owned a truckload brokerage company for many years, and I dealt with drivers, and it was always a nightmare when we expected a call because they needed directions to make a delivery, whatever the case may be. They just wanted to let us know what their ETA was, whatever it may be. And they couldn't because they didn't have service wherever they were at. Right, so this is perfect for you truck drivers out there. There's a lot of truck drivers that listen to Armed American Radio, right, Barbara? There's your shout out. Barbara's always in our chat. She drives a truck. Here's the deal. You've always got service. Always. So your not just keeping in touch with the consignees or the shippers, but also your family. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah,
it's so true.
You mentioned truckers. We just signed, actually, one of the largest trucking companies in America out of Georgia. We're about 1,500 lines, and they've got another 3,000 or so independents out there that are going to be switched over. So no matter how small or big your company, you can switch to Patriot Mobile. I mean, we don't just do onesies, twosies. I mean, you've got a company. Come on, Patriot Mobile business, brother. We can switch you over if you got 1,000 lines. Let's make it happen.
You guys are slamming like crazy over there. Folks, one more time. It's patriotmobile.com/AAR. Get a great deal. You get a free month activation over there. Switching lines or switching a phone is easy to do. They'll walk you right through the process. The phone has to be unlocked, so it has to be paid for. And that's something that I know a lot of people have to fight through. Maybe they just bought 4 family phones like I did, and to switch them all over might cost you a few grand. You can do them one line at a time, Scott. That's what I tell people. That's what I did.
You can do them one line at a time, or I'll do you one better. We've actually got a contract buyout program. So essentially what we'll do is if you owe money on your devices, up to $500 per line, we will pay you in the form of a statement credit when you switch to Patriot Mobile. You pay off your old phone, show us the bill that you paid it off, you're going to get a statement credit up to $500 per line. So if you got family of 4 and you owe $500 on 4 devices, you're going to get a $2,000 statement credit on Patriot Mobile when you switch over. You're not going to have a bill for quite a while. That's good.
Folks,
so we want to take care of those guys too.
That's a game changer for me, Scott. That's what I just heard, ladies and gentlemen. Changes the game for me. Wait till you hear what's getting ready to happen in my house because of that. Because I'm right about that 500 now. I've been waiting to get that down a little bit so I could swap all the phones out. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you right now, that right there is it. That right there is the deal breaker. That's fantastic to know. Scott, that's huge. I was unaware of that, and I'm glad you brought that up. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to take advantage of that. That's a big deal. And a couple of folks out there and some good friends of mine. Ryan, are you tuned in? You know what I'm talking about because you got 5 lines on a business you're getting ready to swap to Patriot as well. So I think it's interesting.
Let's do it.
When you did you talked about the motor carrier, how many units did you say again? How many lines? 1,500 lines?
So they've got about 1,200 lines, and also what they do is they put tablets. They've got tablets in every truck that they own, every company truck. Well, those run on mobile, right? I mean, so we're putting SIM cards in all of those tablets. So not only that, they've got another 3,000 or 4,000 independent truckers out there that we're now incentivizing and giving them a killer deal through that relationship to make the switch to Patriot Mobile. So this is going to be huge for us, and I'm glad you brought up truckers because that's a perfect customer for us when you talk about
it really is.
them traveling across the country. Yeah.
You know what's really nice about that too, ladies and gentlemen? Maybe if you think like I do, here's the first thought went through my head. That's a motor carrier I want to do business with, honestly. Think about that. Yep. You got a carrier that's doing business with Patriot Mobile that supports your Christian values, supports your gun rights, your God, your guns, your Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. That's who you want hauling your freight. You hear me, traffic managers out there? Are you paying attention to this? This is the carrier you want to be doing business with. I'm not going to ask you to name the carrier. Maybe we can talk about that at a later time. But, Scott, that's awesome. I appreciate it, man. That's really good to know. Scott Coburn, ladies and gentlemen, he's the Chief Marketing Officer for Patriot Mobile. Great friends of ours, great friends of yours. That's how this works. Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about this stuff from time to time. You've got to do business with people who share your values in today's market, in today's day and age. Don't believe me? Go look at X right now and look at the garbage the Democrats are putting out right now in hatred of you. It's out there all day long. Scott Coburn, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. You guys stay safe with all your travels. Looking forward to seeing you in Knoxville, and we'll have Patriot Mobile back in 2 weeks from today. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is going to get up and do it again tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, precisely because they don't want us to, which is why we do it. So until we meet on the radio tomorrow, stay safe, carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere, never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever been caught outside his cave without his club. Enjoy your day. See you on the radio tomorrow.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, that's a game changer, Greg. I'm going to make that switch on those other phones. I'm going to go look at those other lines right now and likely make that move. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate it very much. Greg told me that somebody was saying there were some audio issues on the feed. I have no idea why. That's not from us. I can't tell you what happened there. But wherever you were watching it, wherever you had it, I do apologize for that. Although I, can't help it because that's not on my end. But if you're listening on the radio, well, you certainly know that. And after all, Greg, this is what?
It's a radio
It's a
show.
radio show. All right, guys, love you. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, Paul Markle, student of the gun, will be here. Always fun with Paul. And that marks a Friday for us. So we're getting ready to start your weekend. TGI Friday. And it's also going to be Father's Day coming up this weekend as well. Hey, speaking of that, goat guns. Don't forget your goat guns, ladies and gentlemen. They make great gifts, even if they show up late for Father's Day. I was remiss in my duties for not mentioning that over the last few days. GoatGuns.com. Great sponsor of Armed American Radio. The coolest little things you'll ever find. Enjoy your day, guys. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow.